Hey, folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast live stream. It is Monday. It is St. Patty's Day, St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. My mom, God rest her soul, would be very upset that I didn't bring a green tie today. Don't ask me how I forgot. But happy St. Patrick's Day. Where I'm from in Northeast Philadelphia, it's rare that someone is not at least half or a quarter Irish, at least. I'm half Irish. My mom's family was from County Mayo in Western Ireland. So this is always a big day for my mom, makes me think of her, and a big day back home where I'm from in Northeast Philadelphia with all my old friends and still friends, but everyone I grew up with. St. Patty's Day is a big deal. So happy St. Patty's Day. You are all honorary Irish men and women today. But someone who is not honorary in any way are the Houthis of Yemen. Now, some major developments over the weekend you've probably heard about by now. The United States under President Trump, and we went live about this, by the way, on Saturday. If you missed it, I think we went live about 30 minutes after it happened on Saturday, March 15th, the Ides of March. If you missed it, you can check it out in our archives here. While you're there, be sure to subscribe. Click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. But we went live and we told you that President Trump said enough is enough. And look, I've been saying this since he took office in January. The Houthis are not long for this world. And you see the thumbnail for today's live stream, the end of the Houthis. I have a question mark there, but I think that demise is inevitable because the Houthis overplayed their hand, overstepped their bounds, and then some. I mean, foolishly, if they plan to stick around for a while, they've made all the wrong moves because Donald Trump's back in office, and that can't be stressed enough. Now, under Joe Biden, for a year and a half almost, the Houthis were running roughshod, shutting down international shipping, just a little bit of a pretext to the U.S. airstrikes today, by the way, as well. Saturday, yesterday, and today again, more airstrikes. But to give you an idea of the state of play, why President Trump felt compelled to finally do something and go on the offensive rather than just take it on the chin like Biden was doing, some 70% of the world's global shipping in the past 16 months or so, since the Houthis really intensified these rocket and drone barrages towards shipping on the Red Sea off the Yemeni coast where they're based, 70% of global shipping was forced to find alternate routes, going all the way around Africa, incurring all sorts of extra costs. A disaster for the global economy, for trade, for the U.S. economy on so many levels. And the Houthis also engaging in acts of piracy, hijacking vessels, again, drones and missiles fired at vessels, including U.S. vessels. And this was just continuing unabated. The U.S. and U.K. had an alliance where they were supposed to tackle the Houthi threat. They bombed some targets in Yemen, but pretty ineffectual and ineffective because it didn't deter the Houthis at all. The attacks just kept coming. And Biden administration officials were very adamant that, look, we're only going to play defense here. This is only a defensive operation. That's it. So the Houthis hear that and they're emboldened, number one. Number two, they already went too far by targeting Israel with over 200 projectiles over the past year and a half or so, roughly, because Israel were the only ones who responded with the kind of force that the Houthi attacks warranted. Israel hit the Houthis at least twice and hit them very hard. The Hodeidah port in particular on the Yemeni Red Sea coast. So Israel sent a message, but I said it on Saturday and I'll say it again today. Evil is arrogant, evil is foolish, and evil is relentless because it's demonic. On one hand, you'd say, wow, are the Houthis crazy? The answer is yes. But why would they continue to fire rockets and missiles and drones at Israel and at U.S. shipping when they know Israel and the U.S., under President Trump at least, are going to strike back 10 times harder? Why would they do that? Because if they don't do that, they have no rationale for being. There's no reason for them to exist. They exist to maim and murder. And that's it. If the Houthis laid down their arms, then they wouldn't be the Houthis anymore. This is who they are. Same with Hamas, same with Hezbollah, Same with Iran's regime. They can't help themselves because they're evil. They're demonic. This is what they do. It's who they are. So, of course, they're going to continue until they are decisively and utterly crushed. The same goes for Hamas in Gaza, and we've talked about this here in the live stream. I mean, Hamas has taken massive blows since October 7th. I've described them as being in their death throes in many ways. By the way, they're down but not out. They're still dangerous, but nowhere near the magnitude. There will never be a pre-October 7th Hamas again, where thousands of jihadis can invade Israel while they're launching thousands of rockets in the air simultaneously. That Hamas is gone, and I believe they'll eventually be snuffed out completely as well. But no matter who it is out of the three H's, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, those three Iranian proxies, don't expect them to ever stop. Now, there might be lulls, like we're seeing in Lebanon right now with Hezbollah, because they've been hit so badly, they're licking their wounds and they're just laying low. And the Houthis at times over the months after Israel hit them would lie low. But then they rear their ugly heads once again because this is who they are again. They can't not commit jihad or wage jihad, or else they're a non-entity. These are satanic, I don't exaggerate, satanic organizations. And the Nazis didn't stop in World War II until they were utterly and completely destroyed. The same goes for Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis. When you're up against a great evil, a demonically driven evil at that, it must be decisively crushed. And President Trump made that very clear on Saturday that there's a new sheriff in town. We're not going to take it anymore. Gone are the days where the United States would just take it on the chin and allow a ragtag group of terrorists in Yemen who somehow, and we know how this somehow happened, right? Courtesy of Iran, their Iranian masters, got their hands on advanced weaponry. I mean, they've got ballistic missiles, folks. They've got drones. They've got some serious weaponry there in Yemen. And it's in the Houthis' clutches, which has made them relevant and then some. Without that arsenal, they're nobody. But because they have advanced weapons and that serious Iranian support, they've become players. They've become a formidable foe. I told you how they've attacked Israel, but they've attacked U.S. shipping, I believe, over 200 times in the past. Again, this all kind of started concurrently, I should say intensified concurrently with the aftermath of the October 7th massacre. The Houthis certainly active before that. They really, since 2014, they've been up to their antics. But this really all-in assault against Red Sea shipping, against Israel, basically the Houthis trying to go global, or at least expand their regional reach and influence, that really intensified after the October 7th massacre. And the United States allowed this to happen under Joe Biden. They didn't go to the head of the snake. Now, the ultimate head of the snake is Iran. More on them in a minute. What President Trump had to say to them today, things have intensified, needless to say, and Iran is responding. But the head of the snake within the Houthis would be the leadership, right? I call it the Gaddafi effect. 1986, Libya's causing all this trouble under Muammar Gaddafi, a terror regime. President Ronald Reagan strikes Gaddafi's presidential palace. I believe he killed one of Gaddafi's kids. You didn't hear much from Gaddafi after that. You had the Pan Am bombing, of course, a very, very notable exception. But other than that, he lied low for a long, long time. By they, I mean evil forces, they recognize strength. And Trump realized, especially in the Middle East, and Trump realizes that you can have peace, but only through strength. So here's some more details about today and the weekend. U.S. airstrikes over the weekend, just reading this straight from Fox News, took out Houthi drone, missile, and air defense systems. But it says it remains to be seen whether they struck a lethal blow at their main target, the Iranian regime's resolve. Interesting. Remember, Trump said this, he didn't say it, but we could read between the lines. This was not only a strike against the Houthis, it was certainly a message to Iran. The Joint Staff Director for Operations, Lieutenant General Alexis Grinkovich, told reporters that, quote, dozens of military casualties had so far been counted in Yemen, and that he had seen no credible indications of any civilian casualties. He added that an initial wave of U.S. strikes hit over 30 targets at multiple locations, degrading a variety of Houthi capabilities. These included terrorist training sites, unmanned aerial vehicle infrastructure, weapons manufacturing capabilities, and weapons storage facilities. The Pentagon's chief spokesman said if you shoot at American troops, there will be consequences. And these attacks will continue as long as the Houthis continue to shoot. And when I said the head of the snake, I mean within the Houthis, look, Biden was bombing some targets on the coast that basically had no effect. The Gaddafi effect means go after the leader or leaders. Go straight to the source like Israel has done with Hamas and Hezbollah. That's when you really make headway. Cut the head off the snake. So it remains to be seen. We're still getting details. Some important sites were struck, clearly, but were any Houthi leaders, any of those Houthi power brokers, were they taken out at all? Because that's major. That's when you really can have an effect and really hurt the morale of an organization when you start to pluck off the main players and the leadership. So that's something to watch for sure in the next few days. Now, in the meantime, Iran. President Trump said today, and I want you to listen to this in full. The U.S. struck the Houthis again today. And here's what Trump posted on his Truth social media site. Quote, any further attack, and I'm just reading this straight off my phone, I don't want to misquote, any further attack or retaliation by the Houthis will be met with great force, and there is no guarantee that the force will stop there. And this is where it gets interesting. And by the way, the Houthis over the past 48 hours say they've struck U.S. shipping and U.S. forces in the Red Sea. There's no verification or confirmation that I've seen of that. It may just be bluster by the Houthis. But here's where Trump's statement gets really interesting. Quote, Iran has played the innocent victim of rogue terrorists from which they've lost control, but they haven't lost control. It's all a lie. They're dictating every move, giving the Houthis the weapons, supplying them with money and highly sophisticated military equipment, and even so-called intelligence. Now it gets doubly interesting. Quote, every shot, this is President Trump, every shot fired by the Houthis will be looked upon from this point forward as being a shot fired from the weapons and leadership of Iran. And Iran will be held responsible and suffer the consequences, and those consequences will be dire. This is big. So the next time the Houthis fire at a U.S. vessel or U.S. soldiers, God forbid, it appears, according to that statement, that the United States is going to hold Iran accountable. That's the real head of the snake. As I said earlier, the Houthis are a client of Iran, and we know that, armed, supplied, funded, trained by Iran, supported in every way. Just as the other charter members of the Ring of Fire, Hamas and Hezbollah, the Shia militias in Iraq and Syria, Bashar al-Assad and that regime before it collapsed. Islamic Jihad as well in Gaza, along with Hamas. So the Houthis are in that Ring of Fire wheelhouse, needless to say. This is an Iranian proxy. This is not brain surgery. Everyone knows it. It's not hard to understand. So this is very wise by President Trump. And this is something, look, Israeli leaders have been saying, certain Israeli leaders, for a long time. Go to the head of the snake. Some have called the head of the octopus. We keep whacking away at the tentacles. Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the militias, etc. But why not go to the head of the octopus? And that's Iran. It will only really stop when Iran is stopped, when Iran's regime is stopped. And Trump just said as much. Now let's see how Iran responds. Isn't that always the way? Well, here's how they're responding so far. Let's see. Sorry, as I pull this up. There we have it. Okay. An Iranian general vowed to respond, quote, decisively and destructively to any threats after President Trump said he ordered American forces to launch military action against Houthis in Yemen. General Hossein Salami, yes, that is his real last name, it's Hossein Salami. He's a leader of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps. Quote, we warn our enemies that Iran will respond decisively and destructively if they carry out their threats. We are not a nation to live in hiding, he said. We are a valid and legitimate system in the world. We announce it if we attack. We announce it. Oh, okay. We announce it if we attack anywhere, saying, look, we weren't involved with the Houthis. It wasn't us. We would own it. If we did it, we'd tell you we did it. Not so sure about that, needless to say. But that's the response. And there were further comments, by the way, by Iran saying, don't push us around, that kind of thing. So do we have a case where Iran will say to the Houthis, hey, stand down, knock it off? Or, yeah, I said evil is arrogant and foolish. Will Iran nudge the Houthis to do more? Or, like we said in the thumbnail, is this the end of the Houthis, ultimately, as a credible, considerable threat? Because either way you look at it, okay, say on one hand, the Houthis don't stop, and they continue to attack U.S. shipping and launch rockets at Israel, not just U.S. shipping in the Red Sea, but international shipping writ large. If they do that, look, the Trump administration, they're not playing games. They're going to take care of business. I think back, he's not a man of idle threats. It may not happen overnight, but eventually it happens. I think back 2017, Trump vowed to crush the ISIS caliphate. And he went about doing exactly that. And ISIS was largely crushed. So I think, on one hand, if the Houthis continue with their attacks, it's not going to be good for them. It won't end well. They will be smashed. This is not Joe Biden in office. And I think, honestly, they were on the road to being smashed anyway by Israel. There was a good chance Israel, if the Houthis, and they just vowed last week, so the timing of these U.S. strikes is very interesting. The Houthis had vowed last week, remember, and we talked about this in a live stream, they had vowed to resume attacks against Israel over Gaza. If Israel didn't stick to the ceasefire in Gaza, then the Houthis said, we're going to start firing again. So Israel was not going to take that lying down, needless to say. But, okay, Houthis start back up again. Trump administration crushes them. Flip side, Iran says to the Houthis, don't do it, stand down. And the Houthis aren't attacking. They're handcuffed, so to speak. They're intimidated into silence. Then that means it's also, in many ways, the end of the Houthis, in that they're completely deterred. True deterrence. They're truly deterred. Either way in this situation, folks, I think the Houthis lose. Either they're destroyed or they're deterred. And if they're deterred, it means they can't do what we talked about a few minutes ago, carry out terror. If they're deterred and unable to launch any attacks, to peek their heads out, and by the way, their leaders are reportedly in hiding, like the rats they are, in the holes of the deserts of Yemen. But if they can't launch rockets, missiles, drones, etc., then what good are they? If you're the Houthis and you can't wage jihad, then what do? What else do you have to do? If you don't wage jihad as a terrorist group, what else is there? Why do you exist? So either way, I think you see the end of the Houthis. They're big. And look, it's going to take a while. This might take months. But I think we'll get to a point with this administration in Washington where the Houthis will be in very, very bad shape. And if this administration somehow let up, which I don't see happening, and the reason I don't see that happening is because, quite frankly, there's a financial incentive here. Global shipping has been absolutely disrupted in one of the world's most strategic waterways, the Red Sea. You can't have it. And if most of Europe had any guts these days, they would have jumped in there alongside the U.S. long ago. But when the leader of the free world is not acting as such, and that was the Joe Biden-Harris regime, then it sets the tone for everybody. The weak, ineffectual leadership and posture of the Biden-Harris regime set the tone for the entire West, and Europe's leaders lamely followed in turn. Well, it's a new day now, and we're all impacted when shipping is shut down and trade is impacted. The list goes on. So Europe has a dog in this hunt, so to speak. Let's see if they get on board. They'll be late to the party, but let's see if they want to get on board behind the Trump administration and really make a difference vis-a-vis the Houthis. But I think you're seeing the Houthis approaching their demise, and they look strong right now. Look, missiles, rockets, drones, they've got an arsenal. I mean, strong is a relative term. I mean, they've been hit badly too. They're obviously vulnerable. They've also got air defense systems as well. So this is a heavier lift, I think, than people suspect. But at the end of the day, it's completely doable and achievable to crush this organization decisively. Either that happens now, or they're deterred and they can't do anything for the foreseeable future. So it's a win-win in that regard. But with Iran, I mean, talk about feeling the heat. The way things have just flipped since October 7th, they were riding high. We talked about it here. They had the wind at their backs. They had all the momentum. Hamas had just invaded Israel, slaughtered 1,200 people, took the hostages back to Gaza. Hezbollah at will every day was launching rockets and missiles. The Houthis were launching rockets, missiles, and drones. The Shia militias were launching rockets and drones. Assad was still in power in Syria with Iran and Hezbollah just with their claws totally in that country. It really all collapsed, not only just since October 7th, it really has collapsed, I'd say, in the past 5 months or so, 5-6 months since September. That date on the calendar, September 17th, 2024, Operation Exploding Pager in Lebanon, that created a chain reaction of events that has seen Hezbollah smashed, has seen further blows struck against Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Gaza. It directly led to the collapse of Bashar Assad in Syria. Iran's air defenses were destroyed. Syria's air defenses were destroyed. We could go on with the way the sands have shifted in the Middle East over just the past 6 months alone.
I found this on the web.
Oops. Okay. Thank you there, Siri. She's got a lot to say, apparently. Okay. Sorry for the background noise. A little leprechaun on St. Paddy's Day in my phone. But what a turn of events, right? For things to be where they were, where the Iranian axis saw itself as ascendant. And now you're at the point where the ring of fire has been smashed, and you're seeing the Houthis be smashed in real time. Iran's air defenses, again, destroyed. And Iran now, between a rock and a hard place, where if they don't, the Houthis are basically the last man standing in the ring of fire, right? Hamas, Hezbollah, the militias, they don't have the capability to cause serious damage right now, but the Houthis still do. And if Iran says, yeah, do it, launch more rockets. Trump just said, if you do that, if the Houthis do that, we're not only going to hit the Houthis, we're going to hold Iran directly responsible. What that means, I'm not sure. Some kind of strikes, possibly. Look, this is the same man, Donald Trump, who eliminated Qasem Soleimani back in January 2020, the Iranian terror master. So all things are on the table. But so Iran may welcome its own demise if it continues to nudge the Houthis. But again, the Houthis are all Iran has left in a sense. Look, Hezbollah, Hamas are very much still alive, but they've really taken a pounding, folks. The Houthis are still the most active and militarily built up, I guess you would say, of the bunch. But if Iran doesn't employ the Houthis, if Iran says, hey, lay low, then Iran, again, they're completely ineffectual. And why do they even exist, Iran's regime? They exist to destroy Israel, America, wage jihad, and just spread that Islamic revolution worldwide. If they can't do that, if they're prevented from doing that because of credible U.S. pressure and threats, then what do? These are all good developments. And look, without a return of peace through strength to the White House under Donald Trump, I don't think it happens. And no doubt, he has reset the chessboard globally, including in the Middle East. And in the Middle East, they respect the strong horse. It's the way it goes. And certainly the U.S. now under Donald Trump's leadership is seen as the strong horse. And there's a reason Iran wanted to assassinate Donald Trump when he was running for president. It's not by coincidence, because they feared the man, because they remembered his first term, Soleimani taken out, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps put on the terror list, the Iran deal, Trump drops it. He strengthened Israel at every turn, moves the embassy to Jerusalem, recognizes Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. We could go on. Crushes ISIS, which is unrelated to Iran, but related in a way in that it was a message to a terror organization. So the Iranian regime's in a bad way, and my prayer is for the Iranian people that they finally and ultimately rise up against this wicked regime. Speaking of rising up, a quick prayer for you, an Irish blessing. My mom used to love this. We had this in a little plaque in our house. And I share this blessing with you on St. Patrick's Day. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. My mom loved that Irish blessing. I like it too. So happy St. Patty's Day, everyone. And a quick mention on this St. Patty's Day, the Watchman merch is not green, but it's pretty cool. Go to shop.tbn.org and 50% off now that Watchman merch. Hats, t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, some really good stuff by popular demand. Our viewers have asked for it, and now you have it. The Watchman merch, again, it's shop.tbn.org. Hats, hoodies, mugs, t-shirts, some really cool stuff. And we hope you check it out. 50% off. Not a bad deal. Mother's Day is coming. Father's Day is coming. Not a bad deal. March Madness is here. Another great event. But hey, great being with you. A lot to talk about here. Things continue to intensify in the Middle East. And this is your one-stop shop for all things Middle East from a biblical perspective, unapologetically, and how it affects you no matter where you live. So keep it right here. Until next time, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.